Good God morning. Thank you for being here with us again at the One God, One Thought Center for Better Living in Baltimore, Maryland. My name is Bernette Jones, and we appreciate you gathering with us for this Sunday morning worship experience. To all of our spiritual community, please know that I am loving you, I'm hugging you, I am sending the highest and best blessings to each and every one of you and to your families. And I appreciate all of your love and your well wishes and all of the ways that we are staying in touch and taking care of each other and communicating while we go through this period on the planet and everywhere where people are challenged to rise up to the highest and best that we know. And I'm knowing that those of us who are a part of the One God, One Thought Center and the Universal Foundation for Better Living are meeting up to this challenge in wonderful ways and sharing the truth that we know. I want to start today with a scripture that we use as a foundation for our vision and mission at the One God, One Thought Center. You've heard it before, and it seems to be taking on new life right now with all that's going on in our world. From Revelation 21, the first verse says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away." And then in verse 3 it said, "And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'See, the home of God is among mortals. He will dwell with them as their God. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes.'" You know, we're in a global situation, as Reverend Lemetria fondly says. We're in a situation. It's a health event, but it's also an event that's changing our world, our way of being, our way of thinking, our behaviors. It's an awakening experience that's going on right now. It's a paradigm shift. Some people are chemicalizing. And we are seeing a new heaven emerge. And with that new heaven, a new earth. Now we know that heaven is, in the New Thought Christian metaphysical interpretation of Scripture, heaven and the kingdom of heaven are the new states of consciousness that we will rise up to, that we will gain access to. And it's happening for many of us because it's a choice that we will not allow the current situations around us, the current underlying conditions of what seems to be going on with this earthly, physical, so-called pandemic. So our approach to this is to shift our thinking. Our approach to this is to rise up into that Christ mind, that heavenly state of consciousness, even while we still have our feet on the ground. That's one of the beauties of the New Thought Christian tradition, is that we recognize ourselves as spiritual beings in a spiritual universe that's governed by spiritual laws. And at the same time, it's practical. in that we put our feet on the ground and we walk and we endure and we do what is ours to do. We manage the facts, we manage the conditions that show up. But we also recognize that the conditions that are showing up are not necessarily what we would call real. They exist, yes. People are experiencing them, yes. People we know, even some of our loved ones, may be experiencing the effects. But we also recognize and know that as spiritual beings, none of these underlying conditions have any power over us. In fact, if you look at what's being said about underlying conditions, we can recognize that what it's really telling us is that these are times when many people are living under lying conditions. That's right, I said it. People are living under lying conditions. The conditions that you allow to have power by focusing attention on them, by giving them the power that is only God's power, is bringing forth into people's experiences new experiences that are just like those underlying conditions. Now, why would I say that these are lying conditions? In truth, we recognize and understand that there is only one presence and power in the universe. It is God. It is an absolute good. It is an infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, omniactive energy and power. And that we are immersed in it. We live and move and have our being in this absolute good God. And everything that is in this absolute good God is in us. We are divine beings, given the power of choice, the power to decide what we will think, the power to decide what we will feel, the power to decide what we will say out of our mouths and speak, and the power to decide our behaviors and actions. And the one that is causing many people a lot of anguish and fear and anxiety, we have the power to determine our reactions. But until we master our own mind and our own consciousness, and seek first the kingdom of God to rise up to that heaven state of consciousness and access the real underlying conditions, not the lying conditions we've been living under, there is no power in anything except the truth of God's almighty presence. And so any of the conditions and situations and circumstances that we may be experiencing, that our loved ones may be experiencing, it is simply an invitation for us to transform our state of consciousness to one of an understanding condition. You see, the foundation of every experience that we have in life is connected to some spiritual belief, some spiritual idea or thought, and the degree to which we believe it and accept it for ourselves is creating the conditions that we will have to live with. So if we are thinking, using our conscious thinking mind to look out into the race consciousness, to look out into social media, to look on the TV, to listen to what the friends are saying, to listen what people in the supermarket are discussing while we're in the supermarket line. And if we are accepting and agreeing with those conditions, whether they are true or not, we are living with and accepting and calling forth the lying conditions that are affecting our experience. You see, whatever we're thinking in this moment is what's determining what's going to happen for us next. Whatever it is that we are thinking and believing in this moment will determine what we will experience when this challenge is over. So it's very important. It's very important that we be intentional about what it is that we will allow to be our underlying condition, and make certain that it is our understanding condition. You see, with understanding, we recognize that we do indeed have the God-given right of free will and the God-given right of choice. And we can use that power and use some wisdom. Use some wisdom in what we are choosing to focus our attention on. Using some wisdom in what we are choosing to say out of our mouth. Using some wisdom in what it is that we are sharing with other people. We have the power to say to those lying conditions, out, get thee behind me. We have the power to say to those conditions, you have no power over me. And I choose to keep showing up, to keep living, and to keep basing my thinking and feeling on truth. I choose to base my thinking and feeling and what I'm saying on the part of me that's connected to God. You know, the conscious mind pivots. That's a part of the challenge of mastering it. It looks to what the race consciousness or all of our friends or all of social media or all of what the news media is saying. But it also has the ability and the power, once we take that on, it has the ability and the power to base all of our thinking on what the Christ mind is saying, to base all of our thinking on looking to our superconscious phase of being, and to base all of our thinking and feeling on that. One of the conditions that I recognize that seems to be happening right now, and people are challenged in their mental wellness situation. And it goes back to a very basic truth principle. that we teach. It's called remembering. Remembering the three things that are most important to us in eliminating so-called suffering. Base our understanding condition on remembering that we are first spiritual beings, which means that our origin is spiritual and of God. Remembering, number two, that we have a spiritual nature. Our birthright and our name as spiritual beings and the way that we identify ourselves means that we have the exact same nature of the God that created us. And the third thing we must remember is that even in these challenging times, we have a spiritual purpose. When you know truth, meaning you know it because you've experienced it for yourself, and you remember that our primary purpose is to fulfill the reason that we incarnated in a body, and that is to fulfill the purposes of the divine. Those of us who are called to that work, those of us who understand and have that knowledge within us, then it is our purpose to share that, to spread that, to distribute that to all of the people we encounter, to do the work that God is leading us to do. And the most interesting and important and marvelous thing about it is that when we turn our conscious mind to base our thoughts and feelings and words and actions and reactions only on the truth that God stands under everything, when we turn our focus and our attention to that, what happens is our wisdom faculty opens up. Our ability to discern begins to guide us in every thought. It guides us when we go out of the house and we're around people. It guides us in what to do. It guides us to use wisdom. If that means putting on a mask when you're around people, if that means keeping your distance, if that means offering to share with someone new information, to go to the store for them, to share the toilet paper when you have more than enough, to be of service to one another, to send a text or an email, you will be guided into right action by the faculty of wisdom, the power of wisdom that is within us. It helps us to discern. It helps us to make decisions. It helps us to know whether to turn right or to turn left. It is the power of wisdom of God that is localized within us in our superconscious mind. And we are given this already. This is the true underlying nature and condition of who we are. But it's remembering that. As soon as we remember it, it's working. So this is the message. If you are dealing with a condition that is lying to you, then you have the ability to stand firm in truth. God is not withholding anything from us during this situation that's going on. There's nothing out there that's trying to kill us. There's nothing out there that's attempting to stop us. Whatever it is that's going on is a part of a changing universe, a changing global order, a change that will become the new normal. Those who are able to change, those who are able to forgive, those of us who are able to be with whatever is going on and stay in our right Christ mind, will experience less of the chemicalization. Because in chemicalization, as we've talked about many times before, the new energy that's flowing on the planet, the new truth of God, is attempting to bring us up to a new level of consciousness. And chemicalization is the resistance. Chemicalization is the resistance that's causing us to struggle, to have anxiety, to have angst. It's the resistance in thinking that maybe there is something out there that's more powerful than the God you know as true. This is the chemicalization process, and spirit is breaking up all of those lying conditions so that the new information, the new truth can get in. When we are arguing for our limitations, which is what is happening with many people, and saying, ooh, I got an underlying condition of the bonkers of the conquers. Ooh, I'm over 65. Ooh, I'm this or that. Some underlying situation that's lying to us. And what happens with many of us is that we are back and forth like a bobblehead. We cannot decide whether we want to believe the race consciousness or do we want to believe truth? Do we want to go with God and accept a good report that these conditions have no power over us? We can manage through them. They may be facts of our existence and our experience, but they don't have the ultimate power over us. We get to choose. We get to choose to base and stand on truth only. And from that, to gain access to the wisdom and discernment that will take us to the safety that God intends for us, to the health that God has already given us by our very nature and birthright. It's guiding us to know how to be prosperous and to see other currencies beyond just money. It's taking us to the experience of the most compassionate love that we can have for ourselves and for each other. I've seen more people doing more little compassionate things. As a matter of fact, I really loved something that Diane Patience put on one of her Facebook notes. It's a wonderful, wonderful poem that says, I hope we don't go back to normal. And I'm paraphrasing. Because when we go back to normal, we go back to taking things for granted. Instead of waking up grateful for all of life, for all of our experiences, grateful for everything. The bed that we had to sleep in, the jacket we had to put on when we walked out of the door, that we had some food. Instead of waking up each morning and not even noticing how bountiful and abundant God's blessings are as our so-called normal way of being. My prayer, as the poem said, is that we don't go back to normal, that we go back to genuinely appreciating everything that we have, everything that we've been given, the knowledge and the awareness and the experience of the Christ of our own being. Grateful for being able to know that we can link our mind to the God mind and shift the nature of the experiences that we will have. You see, again, whatever we are thinking and believing and intending in this right now moment is setting in place the experience we will have after this one. So to simply know that, I hope we don't go back to not calling and checking on people. I hope we don't go back to being so busy that we don't notice that people are reaching out for someone to simply listen in a lot of situations. That people are reaching out for prayer. That people are reaching out for a new understanding as the underlying basis of their life. I hope we don't go back to running all over top of people with what our agenda is and what we think is the best for them and for everybody else in the world. I hope we don't go back to normal. I hope we embrace the new normal. I hope we embrace the underlying true foundational basis of truth. My prayer is that we begin to be conscious and aware of scanning our own mind to locate where we are and what our true intentions are. Knowing that our true intentions are what's going to manifest. I pray that we recognize that we have the power right now, even as we journey through what we're going through. We have the power to be at peace. We have the power to know that we will get beyond where we are today. However, to get beyond where we are today, we must certainly be conscious in this right now moment today. And this is the gift that we are being given. In the experience that people are experiencing called lockdown, we're being given an opportunity to locate ourselves within ourselves, to notice whether we are identifying ourselves with the human lying conditions or whether we are identifying ourselves as the Christ beings, the divine beings that we have been created in the image, likeness of God. We get to notice which of those are we doing. And we get to shift if we want a new experience going forward. I remember in the 60s, when the great civil rights activities were going on, we used to always say, you need to notice whether you're a part of the problem or are you a part of the solution. We get to be, when we are conscious, we get to be part of any solution that will help ourselves and all of the people who are in this process of awakening, whether you're chemicalizing through it, whether you are relaxing and resting through it, whether you are waking up and being astounded for how long you've been asleep in the nightmare of a lying condition that has been undermining and sabotaging your experiences wherever you are. It's okay. It is okay for you to choose to be wherever you are. What I'm inviting you to is to be conscious of that, to be aware of that, to recognize that you can choose to base all your thinking and feeling on truth. You can do that. You have the power to do it. And for many of us, we are doing it. We are being it. My prayer for you is that you recognize that you have the power to be love and compassion and forgiveness and service and harmony, no matter what the condition or situation is. That is my prayer, that you recognize that and feel that and choose that, if that's what you want. It is my prayer that you recognize there is no underlying condition that can take you out of this life if that's not what you truly intend. If you truly intend to be alive and healthy, all of God's creation has provided health and wellness, information, understanding, actions that you can take. It's provided. And it may be covered over by all of the conversation and the photographs and the things that the media is focusing your attention on. It's just covering it over. But the health is still there. And you can still access it anytime you choose. Don't you love it? I just love it to know that. My prayer is that you recognize that prosperity is your birthright, no matter what the situation and conditions are. The lying conditions about prosperity is when people think that prosperity is only based on one thing. And everybody has bought into that. Money is a wonderful prosperity vehicle, but it's not the only currency. It's not the only one. I challenge you during this time to begin to notice the abundant ideas that God is flowing through you and take some action on them. I challenge you to seek out and find and gain a better understanding of how the ideas of God are coming to you for the purpose of you prospering and being able to prosper others. It is my prayer that you gain that understanding and stand on that. And it is my prayer that you experience peace, no matter what seems to be going on. I know it's a challenge. It doesn't make it impossible just because it's a challenge. I know that it's something that will require you to be still and listen to how the Holy Spirit is directing you. I understand that it's challenging if there are people in your experience who have to go out every day as essential employees. Maybe it's you. I understand that it's challenging to maintain the peace. But when you understand what's at stake, it's the peace that surpasses all human understanding that's going to support you and direct you in how to eliminate those lying conditions and to live free and peaceful and in the knowledge and awareness that God's absolute good is absolute. This is my prayer, that you will take these things to heart and that you will recognize that what is at stake is our very life and our ability to live no matter what condition may show up. That's what's at stake. And I say, it's a worthy intention to take that challenge on, to sit down and be still more and more and more, to turn your attention to thinking that supports what you do want and not the things you do not want. It's worthy. It's worth it. You are worthy. You are worth it. And this is a wonderful time for you to study, to show yourself approved unto God. This is the perfect time to know in your soul that unless the Lord builds the house, you're laboring in vain in trying to build something. This is the perfect time to find the new heaven and experience the new earth. I thank you for your consciousness. I thank you for being a part of all of those on the planet right now who really get it, who understand that this truth stands under anything that may be seeming to cover it up. I thank you. I thank you for rethinking and reconsidering who you are being when you show up. I thank you because it really will matter in the new house, the new state of consciousness that we are building right now. I also want to thank you for your generosity of spirit. I thank you for the way that you have been checking on each other and doing wonderful things for each other. I thank you for the little love notes you send me. I thank you for the generosity to the One God, One Thought Center. We've been receiving your love in the form of money substance, in the form of service for all of you who have come over and worked in our facility to help clean it, to help get it into order, for we know that we will be returning. I thank you. I thank you for simply being. Know that you are loved. Know that you are on a divine purpose mission. And know that you have all the power of God backing you up. Thank you. Please visit our YouTube channel, like us, subscribe, and find out all the ways that you can continue to give and serve in this ministry during these novel times. It's a new day. It's a new day. Stand on truth that is the ancient wisdom of all ages. It is old and brand new. The more you access it and use it on a daily basis in your life. God richly, richly love you and bless you. We'll see you next week.